I got to admit, the end of the Fever Mercury game made me sit up for a second because it got a little spicy with Caitlin Clark having an interaction with Dewanna Bonner out on the middle of the floor, sort of waving her back to the bench.
Picture this. You're a seasoned WNBA veteran with over a decade of experience under your belt. You've seen rookies come and go, you've weathered storms, and you think you know exactly how to handle the league's newest sensation. Then, in one split second of pure miscalculation, you pick a fight with Caitlin Clark in front of thousands of fans and millions watching online. The cameras catch everything. The internet explodes.
Now, we all know that the Indiana Fever is trying to make a push for the playoffs. We've been getting mixed signals coming out about Caitlin coming back, about Caitlin being, somewhat ready to go. Then we got Stephanie White saying it's day-to-day again, basically. Well, I'm here to tell you, Caitlin Clark is not shying away from making headlines.
And suddenly, you're not remembered for your impressive stats that night. You're the poster child for what happens when you underestimate the most polarizing player in women's basketball. That's exactly what happened to Dewanna Bonner just moments ago. And let me tell you, the regret hit faster than a Clark three-pointer from the logo. The Mercury versus Fever matchup was supposed to be just another regular season game, another step in Indiana's desperate playoff push. But the moment Bonner decided to square up with Clark on that court, she turned what should have been a routine basketball game into a viral moment that's going to follow her for the rest of her career. And here's
that interaction stood out to me for a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, obviously, is the history there, where Dewanna Bonner was on the Fever for a cup of coffee and then winds up on the Mercury. Before the season, Caitlin Clark said she wanted to win a ring for her, right? She said, I want to win for her. And Caitlin Clark went out of her way to also, shine light on how Dewanna Bonner had risen up to the top of, near the top of the all-time WNBA scoring ranks.
Kicker, she had no idea what she was walking into. Because here's what Bonner forgot in that moment of heated competition. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's not even just another star. Clark is the engine that drives every WNBA storyline right now, whether the league wants to admit it or not. When you're in your second year and already causing seismic shifts in television ratings, ticket sales, and social media engagement, you're not operating by normal basketball rules anymore. You're operating in a space where every interaction becomes content, every confrontation becomes a case study, and every veteran who thinks it can intimidate you just hands you another building block for your empire. The irony makes this whole situation even more delicious. Just months ago, Clark was singing Bonner's praises, talking about how she wanted to win a championship for her, highlighting Bonner's climb up the WNBA's all-time scoring charts. There was genuine respect there, real admiration from the young star to the veteran. Clark went out of her way to shine a spotlight on Bonner's achievements when she didn't have to. That's the kind of class move that shows maturity beyond her years. But somewhere between those kind words and tonight's confrontation, something shifted. Maybe it was the pressure of the Fever's roller coaster season. Maybe it was the constant injury reports that had fans playing medical detective just to figure out who was actually available to play. Clark's been dealing with her own health scares, groin tweaks, ankle issues, the whole 9 yards, while everyone debated whether she should be eased back into action or thrown straight into the fire. The team's been walking a tightrope between hope and desperation, and you could feel that tension building with every vague day-to-day update from the coaching staff. Then came the moment that changed everything. The cameras captured it all in brutal detail. Clark standing her ground, giving that dismissive hand motion like she was swatting away a mosquito. The gesture was so casual, so effortless, it was almost insulting in its simplicity. Meanwhile, Bonner's puffing up, trying to project authority, trying to show the Mercury weren't going to let some second-year player waltz into their house and disrespect them. But here's where Bonner miscalculated everything. When you go at Caitlin Clark, you're not just challenging one player. You're taking on an entire ecosystem. You're challenging the fan base that's made her their personal crusade. You're challenging the cameras that follow her every move. You're challenging the highlight accounts that will dissect your worst moments frame by frame and turn them into content that lives forever. The referees just stood there like statues, pretending they didn't see what everyone else in the arena witnessed clear as day. But their silence only made Bonner look worse because it meant there was no official validation for her tough guy stance. The explosion on social media was instantaneous and brutal. Twitter, or X, or whatever we're calling it this week, lit up like the 4th of July. Fever fans were incredulous, pointing out the absurdity of yet another veteran trying to bully their star. Clark's defenders were ready with receipts, saying, "Here we go again, another welcome to the WNBA moment." But here's what really stung. Even Mercury fans were scratching their heads, wondering why Bonner picked this particular fight at this particular moment. You'd think after watching what happened to other players who tried this routine, Angel Reese, Kennedy Carter, the whole parade of veterans who thought they could humble Clark, you'd think the league would learn. But apparently not. Apparently, we're still doing this dance where experienced players think they can rattle someone who's already proven she thrives under pressure. The deeper story here reveals something fascinating about the current state of the WNBA. The Mercury know their championship window is slamming shut. Diana Taurasi isn't getting any younger, and players like
on the damn team. I'm not just saying that just to say it. Lexie Hull stand on business when
Bonner aren't exactly building blocks for the future anymore. Meanwhile, the Fever have Clark, they have Aaliyah Boston, they have a young core that could potentially dominate for the next decade if managed correctly. That reality scares veteran teams. It makes them lash out. It makes them do desperate things like trying to intimidate a player who's already proven she's unintimidatable. When Clark gave Bonner that talk-to-the-hand treatment in front of a packed arena, it wasn't just dismissive, it was devastating. Because the clip doesn't make Bonner look tough or commanding. It makes her look rattled, like someone who lost control of the narrative before she even realized there was a narrative to control. And here's the beautiful irony that makes this whole situation so perfectly Clark. The Fever still lost the game. Phoenix had 5 players score in double figures. They executed their game plan. They got the win. They improved their playoff positioning. By every traditional basketball metric, the Mercury had the better night. But none of that mattered. Nobody was talking about the final score when the dust settled. Nobody was analyzing Phoenix's balanced attack or their defensive adjustments. The entire conversation centered on Clark versus Bonner, and that's the Clark effect in its purest form. You can outplay her team. You can win the statistical battle. You can even dominate the scoreboard. But if she gives you one viral moment, just one perfect clip where she makes you look foolish, the narrative victory belongs to her. That's power that transcends basketball. Let's pause here and give credit where credit is due. Lexie Hull deserves flowers for her performance in all this chaos. While Bonner was busy trying to start fights, Hull was actually playing basketball at an elite level. 35 minutes, 18 points, lockdown defense when her team needed it most. Hull's the kind of player who might not always fill up the stat sheet, but when the game hangs in the balance, she delivers. She's quietly become one of the most clutch performers on the roster, and it's almost comical that while everyone's focused on Bonner's theatrics, Hull was the one actually giving Phoenix problems on the court. The coaching situation adds another layer of frustration to this whole mess. Stephanie White's got to be pulling her hair out watching games slip away like this. When the other team gets 5 players in double digits, that's not bad luck or one hot shooter. That's your entire defensive system collapsing like a house of cards. Fans are exhausted hearing the same recycled press conference lines about taking things one game at a time and managing day-to-day situations. At some point, the excuses were thin and people start demanding accountability. But here's what makes Clark truly special in all this chaos. She doesn't even need to drop 30 points to win the night. She just has to stand there, wave someone away, and let the cameras do the rest. That's influence operating on a completely different level. That's the kind of power that transcends sports and enters the realm of pure entertainment. Clark's figured out something that most athletes never learn. She knows how this league operates. She knows the veterans resent the attention she receives. She knows the referees aren't going to protect her. She knows the media will dissect every interaction. Instead of complaining about it or letting it frustrate her, she's learned to weaponize it. Every slight becomes motivation. Every confrontation becomes content. Every attempt to humble her just adds another layer to her legend. The fallout from this Bonner-Clark clash is going to be more interesting than the actual game, because now every headline isn't about Phoenix's playoff positioning or Indiana's injury struggles. It's about Dewanna Bonner trying to intimidate Caitlin Clark and failing spectacularly in the court of public opinion. Bonner might think she held her ground in the moment, but in the bigger picture, she got played. You don't win when the clip gets replayed 1,000,000 times with captions mocking your tough guy act. You don't win when Clark brushes you off like your background noise. And you definitely don't win when fans are turning you into a meme before the final buzzer even sounds. Here's what makes it worse for Bonner. Clark feeds off this energy. We've seen it repeatedly throughout her young career. Every time someone thinks they can body her up or send a message, she channels it into fuel. She responds with logo threes that shouldn't be physically possible. She whips cross-court passes that leave defenders dizzy. She stares people down like she's daring them to try again. That's the edge Clark brings to every confrontation. She doesn't need to scream or chest bump or make a scene. She just makes you look foolish with one dismissive gesture. The lesson here should be simple for everyone paying attention. Stop handing Clark free viral moments. Stop giving her ammunition, because every cheap shot, every intimidation attempt, every side eye just becomes another clip that builds her brand. Bonner won't be remembered for her 19 points in this game. She'll be remembered for losing her composure in front of Caitlin Clark and immediately regretting it. The WNBA finds itself in this weird position where instead of celebrating great team basketball or compelling playoff races, everyone's fixated on who's trying to bully Clark this week. But that's the reality the league has created. Clark is the main character, whether other players like it or not. And the more they fight against that reality, the bigger and more influential she becomes. So here we are, watching instant regret play out in real time. Dewanna Bonner thought she was making a statement about respect and veteran leadership. Instead, she handed Caitlin Clark another perfect example of why she's the most compelling storyline in women's basketball. And the most beautiful part? Clark barely had to lift a finger to make it happen. The moral of the story is crystal clear. When you come at the queen, you better not miss. And tonight, Dewanna Bonner missed by a mile.